Welcome to Wisdom Synergy, where knowledge meets collective power.
Hey guys, what if buildings remember things that people forget? Not literally, not in some science fiction sense anyway. But what if this structures that we inherit tell a story that doesn't really quite match what we tell ourselves? Welcome to Wisdom Synergy. This isn't a show about having all the answers for sure. It's a show about asking better questions. Maybe history is exactly what they told us it is, but maybe it isn't. What's interesting is how often we are discouraged from asking that question. You should question everything, worship nothing, follow the evidence wherever it leads. Today, we're beginning an investigation I like to call the architecture of memory. hmm Have you ever walked into an old structure, an old courthouse, cathedral, train station, library, government building, and felt that something is couldn't quite explain? Maybe it was awe, maybe it was confusion. You look at the stonework, the carvings, the symmetry, the sheer scale of it all, and the question sneaks into your mind. The question is, why don't we build like this anymore? Because whether you're standing on a small town courthouse or in a massive cathedral, many older buildings seem designed to communicate something beyond function. Yeah. So they were trying to say something. The question is what? So let's start with the first question. Question number one: what was the official story? The accepted explanation is straightforward. Many of these buildings were constructed during periods of rapid growth and civic pride, industrial expansion, religious devotion, and national ambition. Really ambitious motherfuckers, ain't they? Communities wanted structures that reflected confidence. Governments wanted monuments. Religious institutions, they wanted spaces that inspired reverence. Railroad, they wanted to impress the travelers. In this view, the buildings are evidence of human creativity, craftsmanship, and collective effort. It's not really too crazy of an explanation. In fact, much of the historical evidence supports it. You know, but so let's be fair. Let's be fair. That's our starting point, not our conclusion, okay? That's our starting point. Now comes the second question. What's the anomaly? Okay. What's the thing that makes us stop and say, hold on a second, man. What the fuck? Why do so many relatively small towns have buildings that seem far grander than what you might expect? Why are communities investing enormous amounts of labor, material, and artistic effort into structures that often exceed simple practical needs? Why do certain buildings still invoke a sense of permanence that modern structures just don't? And why do these questions provoke such strong reactions? Do you notice something? I'm not claiming anything. I'm simply pointing out the anomaly. The thing that doesn't quite sit well in the mind is when we move to the third question. What are the alternative explanations? One possibility is simple. People in previous generations valued permanence differently than we do. So maybe they expected buildings to last for centuries. Maybe beauty was considered part of public life rather than optional luxury. Another possibility is the economics. Labor costs were different, materials were different, construction methods were different. Third possibility is cultural. hmm Maybe we lived in a world increasingly focused on speed, efficiency, and short term return on investment. Maybe the architecture reflects the mindset. And of course, there are more speculative theories. Uh, theories involving forgotten knowledge, lost technologies, hidden histories, alternative timelines. These ideas attract attention because they attempt to explain the anomaly. But here's the key, okay? At Wisdom Synergy, we're not here to defend a theory. We're here to investigate why the theory exists in the first place. What question is it trying to answer? And maybe that's where the deeper mystery begins. So I'm glad you guys are with me because we're going to do this together. Because this episode isn't really about buildings, okay? It's about memory. What do societies choose to remember? What they choose to forget? How much of history survives through documents? How much survives through stories? How much survives through stone? When you stand in front of an old building and you're looking at a decision someone made long before you were born, okay? A decision about what mattered, a decision about what endured, what should endure, a decision about what future generations should inherit, including you. Before we end, I want to add the fifth question to our investigation. What evidence would change my mind? It's easy to collect facts to support what we already believe. A harder task is searching for information that challenges us. So if you're convinced the official story explains everything, what evidence would make you reconsider that? If you're convinced there's a hidden history, what evidence would make you reconsider? Because the goal isn't to win, the goal is to understand. And maybe these buildings are exactly what we've been told they are, and maybe they aren't. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between. What interests me most is not the answer, it's the question. Why do these structures continue to spark curiosity generations after they are built? What are they reminding us of, and what have we forgotten? Until next time, guys, keep your flashlight on, question everything, worship nothing, follow the evidence wherever it leads. This is Wisdom Synergy, and investigation continues. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.